Countdown for blast off. X minus 5, 4, 3, 2, X minus 1, fire. From the far horizons of the unknown come transcribed tales of new dimensions in time and space. These are stories of the future, adventures in which you'll live in a million could-be years on 1,000 maybe worlds. The National Broadcasting Company, in cooperation with Street and Smith, publishers of astounding science fiction, presents
X minus 1.
Tonight's story.
Cold equations.
There is no margin of safety along the rim of a frontier. There can't be any until the way is made for those who come later. Until then, the penalty for mistakes is a grim one. The laws of physical nature operate with irrevocable certainty, with no room for mercy, kindness, or sentimentality. In space, life becomes a cold equation, and the equal sign is often followed by death. I know. I'm the pilot of an EDS.
Come in.
You sent for me, Commander?
Yes. Sit down, Barton. We just got an ED from the Territorial Space Station on Woden.
Woden. That's in the Crab Nebula, isn't it?
That's right. There are 2 exploration parties there on Manning's continent. 8 men each.
Mm-hmm.
They've got calla fever in one of them and no serum.
Oh, and I thought this was going to be a nice, quiet passenger run.
Computers are working out your payload and your course right now. In exactly 10 minutes, we'll drop into normal space and launch your ship.
I'll get her ready.
One thing.
What's that?
Woden is at the maximum pay limit for an EDS. Figuring the weight of the serum, we'll be able to give you just enough fuel to land on Manning's continent if you make it the first pass. Otherwise, you'll burn out in midair.
Mm-hmm. Standard procedure.
Report to launching control.
Right.
Good luck, Barton.
Thanks. Oh, by the way,
Yes?
when can I expect to be picked up?
We'll make a stop on the run back to Earth sometime next year. You'll be notified by radio.
Okay.
Sorry, we can't make it sooner.
That's what happens when you sign on for EDS work. I'll see you next year, Commander. Down in the belly of the Stardust, the crew was working like beavers to get the EDS, the emergency dispatch ship, ready. Mechanics and technicians were swarming all over the place. Girls in inspectors' uniforms were checking the gauges in the supply cabinet. 9 minutes later, the exact course was in the computer. The serum was stowed in my supply cabinet closet, and little EDS 4G3 was ready to be born into space.
Barton,
Yes, sir.
30 seconds to blast off. All set?
All set.
I'm turning you over to traffic.
Ready.
Traffic control. Come in, EDS 4G3.
Ready.
20 seconds. Lock open. 15 seconds. Space drive on.
Space drive on.
10 seconds. Gravity neutralizer on.
Neutralizer on.
5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Blast off.
I don't remember how long it was afterwards that I first noticed something wrong. Maybe an hour, maybe 2. There was nothing to show it except the needle and the heat gauge. It was on 0 when we left the Stardust, and now I noticed that it had crept up toward the 30 mark. That meant something inside the ship was radiating heat. That something was in the supply closet, and it was alive. All right, come out. Whoever or whatever you are, if you don't come out in 5 seconds, I'm going to blast you. 1, 2.
Well, I'll be...
Hello. I'm Marilyn Lee Cross.
What are you doing in there? I'm a stowaway.
Oh, my...
What's the matter? Do I have to pay a fine or something?
What are you doing here?
I wanted to see my husband.
Who's your husband?
He's with the government survey crew on Woden. I haven't seen him since he left Earth 4 years ago.
Okay. But what made you hide in my EDS?
I have a job waiting for me on Mimir, but I heard you were going to Woden and there was plenty of room, so I hid. Oh, I knew I'd be breaking some kind of rule, but what's one little rule?
What's one little rule? H amount of fuel will power an EDS with a mass of M safely to its destination. H amount of fuel will not power an EDS with a mass of M plus X safely to its destination. Well, how could she be expected to know? She was 5'2" with brown curly hair and the faint, sweet smell of perfume. She was 5'2" and she smelled like apple blossoms. And her name was X in an equation that would have to be balanced.
Stardust. Come in, EDS. Come in.
This is Barton, emergency dispatch pilot 4G3.
Go ahead.
Give me Commander Delhart.
What's the message, EDS?
I have to consult Commander Delhart.
The commander is busy.
Listen, you squirt. Give me Commander Delhart.
One moment, 4G3. Commander Delhart. Emergency message from EGS 4G3.
This is Delhart. What is it?
At 0800 hours, I discovered a stowaway aboard my ship.
A stowaway?
Yes, sir.
Well, have you notified ship's records?
Not yet, sir.
You know the regulations as well as I do.
Of course I know the regulations. That's why I'm calling.
Martin, what's going on?
Sir, this is a girl. A young woman.
Oh.
She wanted to see her husband on Woden. She didn't know what she was doing.
I see.
I wondered, sir, maybe the cruiser could change course or something?
I'm afraid not. We're hundreds of light years apart now. We have a limited fuel supply ourselves, with 900 passengers.
Is there any chance?
No.
Okay, Skipper.
Better get the information to ship's records.
Okay.
Martin,
Skipper?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, sure.
You cut our acceleration, didn't you?
Yes.
Why?
Well, save fuel. For a while. How did you manage to stow away?
I was taking a language lesson in Mimirese from a girl in the inspection corps. The order came in for your trip, and I just went along on an impulse. It was easy. I'll be a model prisoner, I promise.
If you were only a thief or a spy, it would make it easier.
Make what easier?
Forget it. Why couldn't she have been somebody with some ulterior motive, a fugitive, hoping to lose himself in a raw new world, a crackpot with a mission? Why did she have to be a woman? A beautiful, kind, trusting woman?
Stardust.
Barton, EDS 4G3.
Go ahead, 4G3. Identify a stowaway.
Give me your identification disc, Miss Cross.
Here. Why?
Well, it's for ship's records. Identification number T8374.
One moment. This is for the gray card, of course.
Yes.
I'll need the time of...
I'll tell you later.
That's highly irregular.
Then we'll do it in a highly irregular manner. The subject is a young woman. She's listening to everything that's said. Are you capable of understanding that?
Oh. Go ahead, 4G3.
Number T8374-Y54. Name, Marilyn Lee Cross. Female, married. Born July 7th, 2160. Good Lord, you're only a child. Height, 5 feet 2 inches. Weight, 110. Hair, brown. Eyes, blue. Complexion, light. Blood type, O. Original destination, Port City, Mimir. Listen, I'll call you back later. Look, miss.
Marilyn.
Look, Marilyn. I guess you don't know what you got yourself into here. Well, it's like this. This ship is carrying Calla fever serum to the survey group on Woden.
Yes.
Their supply was wrecked in a tornado. The fever is always fatal unless the serum is given in the first 48 hours. Now, these little ships have exactly enough fuel to reach their destination. If you stay aboard her, your added weight will cause it to use up all its fuel before it can land.
What happens then?
We crash. You die, I die, and 6 fever victims on Woden die.
Can't they send out another ship to meet us?
There are no ships to send.
Well, Oh, no. Oh, no, you couldn't do that.
That's how it has to be.
But that's crazy. I haven't done anything. I haven't hurt anybody.
I'm sorry. I should have told you before, but I wanted to make sure there was no other way.
You mean it? You're going to make me leave this ship?
That's how it is.
But I'll die. I'll explode. I'll be like those horrible pictures about...
Try to understand.
I do understand. You're going to kill me, and I didn't do anything.
I know you didn't. That has nothing to do with it.
It has everything to do with it. Nobody just dies like that for no reason. Oh, listen. Maybe there are other cruisers. Cruisers you don't know about. Maybe the radio. Maybe it...
Now, listen to me. It's different here. Different from anything you've ever known. On Woden, there are 16 men. 16 men on an entire world. They're fighting. Fighting an alien environment. The environment fights back. You can only make a mistake once.
And I made a mistake.
Yes.
There's no hope.
Absolutely none. You'll have to be put out of the ship. It was better so. With the going of all hope would go the fear. Then would come the resignation. She needed time, and there was so little.
EDS. Starship to EDS. Need pertinent data.
All right, Starship.
When do you expect to complete your report?
I need a computer check.
I'll give you statistics. Statistics.
This is EDS 4G3. I'm intersecting course vector 7.3 at 0831. Deceleration 1750, weight 1 ton. I would like to stay at point 10 as long as the computers allow. Will you give them the question?
Check. I'll call you back.
We wouldn't have long to wait. The new factors would be fed into the steel maw of the computer bank, and the electrical impulses would go through the complex circuits. Here and there, a relay would click, a tiny cog turn over. But it would be the current, formless, mindless, invisible, which would determine with utter precision how long the pale young girl beside me would live. 5 little segments of metal in the second bank would trip against an inked ribbon, and the machine would spit out the answer.
You will resume deceleration at 1910.
It was 1810 when he spoke. 1 hour. She has 1 hour to live.
One hour?
That's it.
All I did was hide in a closet. And now you tell me I have to die. I don't believe it.
You might as well get used to it.
If this happened back on Earth, 1,000 ships would fill the sky. The whole world would know about it. They'd do everything to save me.
This isn't Earth.
It was such a big dream. Jerry and I separated almost 5 years ago. We were too young. And I was going to see him to try to make everything all right again. Are you married?
I was.
Oh?
She ran off with some guy in the weather service.
Do you still think about her?
I don't let myself.
Where is she?
Back on Earth. Look, if you don't mind, I'd just as soon talk about something else.
Okay. What do you do when you've got an hour to live? What do you talk about?
What's Jerry like?
Jerry? Oh, he's a funny guy. When he found out, I mean about the other fella, he didn't get mad. He cried. That was all he felt, sadness.
So you walked all over him.
Well, I thought I wanted him to get mad at me, to be jealous.
And now?
been thinking about him for 5 years. So when I heard the ship was bound for Woden and I knew Jerry was there, I stowed away. I didn't know about the fuel. I didn't know this would happen to me.
She had violated a man-made law that said keep out. The penalty was not of man's making or desire. It was not a penalty men could revoke. H amount of fuel will power an EDS with a mass of M's safely to its destination. The time was 1830. 40 minutes. It was beginning to get me. A space frontier is a rough place, and I'd seen 100 men die since I left Earth. But this was different. I watched her as she wrote a message to her folks. I watched her as she fought her way through the black horror of fear toward the calm gray of acceptance. And then there it was on the view screen. The planet Woden, a red ball enshrouded in the blue haze of its atmosphere, swimming in space against the background of star-sprinkled blackness. The chronometer on the instrument panel said 1845. Listen, we're in radio range of Woden now. I mean, would you want me to try to contact your husband?
Jerry?
It'd mean he would know you're going to die. There'd be nothing anyone can do.
Yes. I would like to talk to him. Do you think we can?
Well, the planet is turning. If his group is on the side facing us, we might be able to reach him.
Oh, try.
All right. Hello. Hello, Woden. EDS to Government Survey Group. Can you hear me? Come in, Woden. They may not be monitoring.
Hello?
Hello. Hello. Identify yourself, please.
This is Government Survey Group 1 on Planet Woden.
This is John Barton, EDS pilot.
You have the serum?
Yes. How bad is it?
1 man died last night. 6 have the fever. How long will it take to...
I start deceleration at 1910 hours. I should be able to land at 1930.
Thank God.
Look, do you have a Gerald Cross in charge of the group?
Commander Cross? Yes, we do.
Could I speak to him?
He isn't here. He's out with the survey team.
Well, when do you expect him?
Can't say.
How do you read me? How much time do we have left for communication?
Less than 15 minutes.
All right. If Commander Cross comes back before we lose radio contact, will you have him buzz me? It's important.
Okay, EDS.
I'll keep the set open.
Check.
The minutes passed like small bits of eternity. On the view screen, I could see Manning's continent sprawled like a gigantic hourglass in the eastern sea. There was a thin line of shadow where it was beginning to disappear as the planet turned on its axis. I looked at the pale woman next to me, and I thought of another woman long ago who'd sat next to me and cried because I wouldn't try to understand. What had she written in those letters back home? What would they think of the faceless, unknown pilot who'd sent her to her death? What would I think of myself alone nights, reliving this voyage?
Cold, isn't it?
I'll turn up the thermostat.
Nothing from Jerry?
We have about 2 minutes of radio contact left.
Maybe it's better. I mean, suppose it were you and your wife tried to call you. How would you feel?
I don't know.
Do you ever hear from her?
I got a letter about a year ago. I tore it up.
That was foolish.
Yeah, it was.
Life is so terribly short to be wandering around alone.
Well, Wait a second, we're getting something.
How much time before I have to leave the ship?
About 10 minutes.
Hello, EDS. Hello, EDS. Come in. Come in.
EDS.
This is Woden. I have Commander Cross.
All right, go ahead.
Hello, this is Commander Cross.
Jerry Cross?
Yes.
I have someone for you. Go ahead.
Hello.
Jerry?
Hello?
Jerry?
Who is it?
It's me, Marilyn.
Marilyn.
I wanted to see you again. I stowed away on the EDS.
You what? But Marilyn...
It doesn't matter, Jerry. All that matters is that I can tell you all the things I've kept inside for so long. Jerry, I want you to know I've never forgotten.
Oh, it's been so many years. I can't believe it.
I thought I'd see you again, but now I can't. Jerry, you don't hate me, do you?
Hate you. Oh, Marilyn, I've never stopped loving you. Not for an instant.
Oh, Jerry.
Listen, we don't have much time. The transmission is getting fuzzy. Oh, Marilyn, I've got to see you. There's got to be some way.
There isn't.
Let me talk to the pilot.
Give it to me. Hello.
Pilot, have you called the mothership? Did you have them checked with the computers?
I've done everything. You've been on the frontier long enough to know the setup in an EDS.
Oh, dear God, there must be something, some way.
Do you think I'd let this happen if I wasn't sure?
He tried to help me, Jerry. He tried. And it really doesn't matter. I'm not frightened anymore. Not now.
But how did you get here? I don't understand.
Well, I was going to Mimir to take a job, I thought. And now I realize I was just going because I'd be closer to where you were. Oh, Jerry, all this time.
Don't. Let me tell you something. Marilyn, I've always known you'd come back to me. I've known it every minute. It's what's kept me alive. I want you to hold that in your mind.
Jerry, I can't hear you.
We haven't much time. We're losing radio contact.
Jerry!
Oh, don't cry, darling. Just know how I feel.
I do.
It's fading.
There are so many things to say. Jerry, if you can still hear me, maybe I'll come to see you again. Maybe I'll come to you in your dreams, or be the touch of a breeze, or one of those golden-winged little birds singing my silly head off. Maybe I'll be nothing you can see or hear, but you'll know I'm there. Think of me like that, Jerry. Goodbye.
Goodbye, my darling.
She sat motionless in the hush that followed. And then she looked at me.
Now?
Now. I pulled down the black lever, and the inner door of the lock slid open. She walked with her head up and the brown curls brushing her shoulders. I let her do it alone. She stepped into the lock and turned to face me, and I could see the pulse in her throat.
I'm ready.
I pulled the red lever, and there was a slight waver as the air gushed out. I thought I sensed a bump, as if something had bumped the outer door. And then there was nothing. The white hand of the closet temperature control was back at 0. A cold equation had been balanced, and I was alone in the ship.
You have just heard X-1, presented by the National Broadcasting Company in cooperation with Street and Smith, publishers of astounding science fiction. Tonight, by transcription, X-1 has brought you Cold Equations, written by Tom Godwin and adapted for radio by George Lefferts. Featured in the cast were Court Benson as Barton, Jay Meredith as Marilyn, Milo Bolton as Commander Delhart, Bob Hastings as Jerry Cross, Jack Arthur as Traffic Control Officer, and Walter Kinsella as the Woden Monitor. Your announcer, Bill Rippey. X-1 was directed by Ken McGregor and is an NBC Radio Network production. And now, next week. In the days of the Windjammers, whalers sometimes went on cruises that lasted as long as 2 years, and so sometimes they had to resort to rough methods to gather a crew. But what of the future, when a cruise to a distant star may last for 15 years or more? We hear of such a voyage next week on X-1.
Countdown for blastoff. X-5, 4, 3, 2, X-1, fire. From the far horizons of the unknown come tales of new dimensions in time and space. These are stories of the future, adventures in which you'll live in a million, could be years, on 1,000 maybe worlds. The National Broadcasting Company, in cooperation with Galaxy Science Fiction Magazine, presents
X minus one.
Tonight, The Discovery of Morniel Mathaway by William Tent.
Everyone is astonished at the change in Morniel Mathaway since he was discovered. Everyone, that is, but me. They remember him as an unbathed and untalented Greenwich Village painter who began almost every second sentence with I and ended every third one with me. You see, I understand the change in him because I was there the day he was discovered. We were talking about his discovery that day. I was sitting carefully balanced on the one wooden chair in his cold little Bleecker Street studio because I was too sophisticated to sit in the easy chair.
Come on, Dave. Take a comfortable seat.
Oh, no, Morny. Oh, no. I know about that chair.
Now, what do you mean? It's the only comfortable chair in the room.
Yeah, I know. Look at it. Broken down spring, very high in the front and low in the back.
Sure, it conforms with the position of the spine.
Yeah, sure. And when you sit in it, things begin sliding out of your pockets. Loose change, keys, wallets, anything. What do you do, Morniel? Pay the rent on your studio with that easy chair?
Well, as a matter of fact, it is rather profitable.
And that's why I'll sit on the wooden chair, if you don't mind.
Oh, now, don't be bourgeois.
Well, I notice you always sit on the bed.
That's because I'm a good host.
I see. Well, how's the painting going?
Oh, great, fabulous.
You sell any paintings?
No. You know, Dave, I can't wait for the day when some dealer, some critic with an ounce of brains sees my work. I can't miss, Dave. I know I can't miss. I'm just too good. Sometimes I get frightened at how good I am. Why, it's almost too much talent for one man.
Well, there's always...
Not that it's too much talent for me. I'm big enough to carry it, fortunately. I'm large enough of soul.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear it. Now, if you don't mind...
You know what I was thinking about this morning?
No, but to tell you the truth,
I was thinking about Picasso, Dave. Picasso and Rouault. I'd just gone for a walk through the pushcart area to have my breakfast. You know, the old hand's quicker than the eye.
Yes, I know. I've seen you do it. You're the only man I know who can ask directions to Houston Street and fill his pockets full of bananas at the same time.
Oh, well, society owes the artist something.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I started to think about the art of modern painting. I think about that a lot, Dave. It troubles me.
You do, huh? Well,
I was thinking, who is really doing important work in painting today? Who is really an unquestionable great? I could think of only 3 names. Picasso, Rouault, and me.
Well, naturally.
Just 3 names, no more. Oh, it made me feel very lonely, Dave.
Yes, well, I can see that. But
and then I asked myself, why is this so? Has absolute genius always been so rare? Why has my impending discovery been delayed so long? Oh, I thought about it for a long time, Dave. I thought about it humbly, carefully, because it's an important question, and this is the answer I came up with.
Well, don't bother waiting for the answer that Morniel came up with. It turned out to be a theory of aesthetics I'd heard at least a dozen times before from a dozen other painters in the village. Morniel was a bad painter, there was no question about it. I say that not only from my opinion. I've roomed with 2 modern painters, and I've been married for a year to another, but... Well, for example, a friend of mine, a fine critic of modern art, took a look at one of Morniel's paintings, which he hung over my fireplace in spite of my protests, and just kind of stared slack-jawed.
What does he call that technique?
Well, he says it's smudge on smudge.
Well, I can believe it. Smudge on smudge, white on white. Non-objectivism, neo-abstractionism, call it what you like. There's nothing there, nothing. Well, it doesn't even have the interest of those paintings that chimpanzee did a couple of years ago. He's just another of those loudmouth, frowsy, frustrated dilettantes that infest the village. Why do you waste your time with him?
Well, for one thing, he lives right around the corner, and he's kind of colorful in his own sick way. And he does have one great talent.
It's not in painting.
No. Now, you see, I just get by as far as living expenses are concerned. Things like good paper to write on, good books for my library. I can't touch them. And sometimes the yearning gets too great. You know, a newly published collection by Wallace Stevens. Well, if I find one I want, I just go over to Morniel's and tell him about it.
He doesn't lend you money.
Oh, no. Now, you see, we go out to the bookstore and we come in separately. And then I start a conversation with the proprietor about some very expensive out-of-print item I'm thinking of ordering, and Morniel just says, "Don't mind me, I'm browsing." Well, that's the high sign. I'm browsing.
Well, what happens?
Well, while I'm keeping the proprietor talking, Morniel snaffles the Stevens.
Isn't that just a little bit,
Oh, well, I intend to pay for them, of course, just as soon as I'm a little ahead.
Well, why does he do this for you?
Oh, well, I pay off. I go through the same routine at an art supply store so Morniel can get canvas and paint and brushes. Of course, I really have to pay for Morniel's browsing. I have to suffer through listening to him, and then my conscience bothers me.
Oh, it does.
Yes, you see, I intend to pay for my things, but I know he doesn't. And that's why my conscience bothers me. Well, here he was the day he was discovered, sitting in his room, and Morniel was running on about his own genius.
No, I can't be as unique as I feel. Other people must be born with the potential of such great talent, but it's destroyed in them before they can reach artistic maturity. Why? How? Well, let's examine the role that society plays in all of this.
What's that? You got a hi-fi set?
Nonsense. That's a crass materialistic concept that I
Emmett,
should not...
something is happening. Hey, why did you put the purple lights in?
Purple? Oh, what's that?
Look, it's shimmering. It's coming right through the wall. It looks like a box.
We can't both be having an artistic vision. You're not the type.
No, I'm not, and I'm not drunk either. Look out, something's going to happen.
Morniel Mathaway?
Well, who are you? Where'd you come from?
You are Morniel Mathaway?
Yes.
My name is Glescu. I bring you greetings from 2487 AD.
Oh, 2487?
AD?
I realize this is a difficult phenomenon for you to grasp entirely, but here I am. We will now indulge in the 20th century custom of shaking hands. Mr. Morniel Mathaway?
Oh, well, sure. Shake. Yeah.
And you, sir?
Yeah, sure. I don't mind. Shake.
What a moment. What a supreme moment.
Oh, what do you mean, what a moment? What's so special about it? Are you the inventor of time travel?
Me, an inventor? No. Time travel was invented by Antoinette Ingeborg in... Well, that was after your time. It's hardly worth going into at the moment, especially since I only have half an hour.
Why half an hour?
The skin drum can only be maintained that long. The skin drum is, well, call it the transmitting device that enables me to appear in your period. There is such an enormous expenditure of power required that a trip into the past is made only every 50 years. The privilege is awarded as a sort of go-bell. I believe I have the word right. It is go-bell, isn't it? The award made in your time?
Well, you wouldn't mean Nobel by any chance, a Nobel Prize?
That's it, the Nobel Prize. A trip is awarded to outstanding scholars as a kind of Nobel Prize. Once every 50 years, the man selected by the Gardemax is the most preeminent, that sort of thing, you know. Up to now, of course, it's always gone to historians, or they frittered it away on the siege of Troy and the first atom bomb explosion at Los Alamos, or the discovery of America, things like that. But this year...
Yes? Well, what kind of scholar are you?
I am an art scholar. My specialty is art history, and my special field in art history is...
What?
You, Mr. Mathaway. In my own period, I may say without much contradiction, I am the greatest living authority on the life and works of Morniel Mathaway. My special field is you.
Dave, did you hear that? Dave!
I heard.
Do you mean that I'm famous? That famous?
Famous? You, my dear sir, are beyond fame. You are one of the immortals the human race has produced.
That famous?
Famous. Who is the man with whom modern painting in its full glory is said to have definitely begun? Who is the man whose designs and color have dominated architecture for the past 5 centuries? Who is responsible for the arrangement of our cities, the shape of our artifacts, the texture of our clothing?
Me.
You. No other man in the history of art has exerted such a massive influence over design. To whom can I compare you, sir? To what other artist in history can I possibly compare you?
Rembrandt? Da Vinci?
Rembrandt and Da Vinci in the same breath as you, as ridiculous. They lacked your universality, your taste for the cosmic.
Wow.
Mr. Glescu, excuse me. Do you happen to know of a poet named David Danziger? Did much of his work survive?
Is that you?
Yes, that's me. Dave Danziger?
Well, no, I don't think so. The only poet I can remember for this time and this part of the world is Peter Tebb.
Tebb? Never heard of him.
Then this must have been before he was discovered. But you see, I am an art scholar. Well, you see, checking my chronometer, I see my time is getting short. But it is an overwhelming delight for me to be standing in your studio, Mr. Mathaway, and looking at you at last in the flesh. I wonder if you would mind obliging me with a small favor.
Oh, sure. You name it. Nothing's too good for you. What do you want?
I wonder, I'm sure you don't mind, could you possibly let me look at your painting? The one that you're working on at this very moment.
Well, sure. I have one right over here. Just, I'll pull the easel around. There you are. I intend to call this Figured Figurines number 29.
Oh, but this...
What's the matter?
Well, surely this isn't your work, Mr. Mathaway?
Yeah. It's my work, all right. Figured Figurines number 29. Recognize it?
No, I do not recognize it, and that is a fact for which I am extremely grateful. Could I see something else, please? Something a little later.
Well, that's the latest. Everything else is earlier. Here, you might like this. Now, I call this Figured Figurines number 22. I think it's the best of my early period.
Oh, dear. You know, well, this looks like a smears of paint on top of other smears of paint.
Right. Only I call it smudge on smudge. But you probably know all about that, being such an authority on me. And now, here we have Figured Figurines number 12.
Do you mind leaving these figurines, Mr. Mathaway? I'd like to see something of yours with color and form.
Well, I haven't done any real color work for a long time. Oh, wait a minute. Wait. I have one over here somewhere, an old canvas. I was going to paint over it. Here we are. This is one of the few examples of my mauve and mottled period that I've kept.
Oh, right. I can't imagine why. It's positively, oh, dear.
Oh, now, wait a minute. Let me show you some of my intestinal period. Here. Here's a particularly good one. It's called Large Intestine Rampant. You like it?
Oh, please. I think I'd like to sit down.
Well, take the comfortable chair. And here's another one called Small Intestine Incisive. Oh, it's rather good, don't you think? I managed to avoid completely any definite line. You notice that?
I don't suppose you ever drink of Glyfax. Oh, no, of course you don't. It hasn't been invented yet.
Oh, now here's one that's bound to be great. It's one of my earlier smudge on smudges. It's called Fly Ash. I painted it by coating the canvas with slow-setting glue and leaving it out on the window for about 2.5 hours. Notice the delicate deposit of soot.
Oh, please. Please, Miss Mathaway, please.
Oh, I've got lots more.
I don't understand this. All of these canvases, this is obviously before you discover yourself and your true technique. But I'm looking for a sign, a hint to the genius that is to come, and I find...
Well, how about this one? Here.
Oh, please. Oh, take that away. Oh, dear. Oh, dear, no. Look, I'll have to leave soon. I don't understand this at all. Let me show you something here, gentlemen. Here, a pocket edition of the source book.
The complete paintings of Morniel Mathaway, 1928-1996. Were you born in 1928?
Yep. May 23rd, 1928.
Here, look at the first painting.
Well, that's beautiful. I mean, the color, that's incredible.
Oh, well, that stuff. Well, why didn't you tell me you wanted that kind of stuff?
You mean you have paintings like this, too?
No, not paintings. One painting. Oh, I did it last week as a sort of an experiment, but I wasn't satisfied with the way it turned out, so I gave it to the girl downstairs. Would you like to look at it?
Oh, yes. Very much.
Well, here, I'll just toss your book on the bed. Come on, it won't take a minute or two. Oh, she isn't at home. I thought she'd be home now. Oh, I did so want you to see that painting.
I want to see it. I want to see anything that looks like your mature work. But time is getting short. The chronometer...
I'll tell you what. Anita here has a couple of cats that she asked me to feed when she's away for a while. So she's given me the key to her apartment. Suppose I, browse upstairs and get it.
But she...
Suppose I browse through my room and get it. Get it?
Oh, yeah, you go ahead and browse, sure.
Fine, but please hurry.
Oh, sure, I'll hurry. I won't take long browsing.
Well, that was it, the high sign. I'd seen Morniel Mathaway in action too many times as a shoplifter not to understand it. He was going upstairs to lift that book that he'd dropped on the bed. I knew he hadn't ever painted a picture like the one in the book. But he would now. Only he wouldn't paint them. He'd copy them. Well, I started talking automatically. You paint yourself, Mr. Glasgow?
No. Of course, I wanted to be an artist when I was a boy. I imagine every critic starts out that way, but I found it far easier to write about paintings than to do them. Once I began reading the life of Morniel Mathaway, I knew I had found my field. Not only do I empathize closely with his paintings, but he seems so much like a person I could have known and liked. That's one of the things that puzzles me. He's quite different from what I had imagined.
Yes, I'll bet he is.
Of course, history has a way of adding romance to an important figure.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, dear, I'm running out of time here. Do you think you'll be back with the key soon? I practically no time left. I've just got to get upstairs to the time translator. I just can't wait. I'll have to hurry now. Oh, dear, I did want to see an original Mathaway. I did want to. Mr. Mathaway, Oh!
What's the matter?
The time translator, it isn't here. It's gone.
The book is gone, too.
And Mathaway, he stranded me here. He must have figured out that getting inside and closing the door made it return.
Yeah, he's a great figure. And he'll probably figure out a very plausible story to tell the people in your time to explain how the whole thing happened. Why should he work his head off in the 20th century when he can be an outstanding hero-worship celebrity in the 25th?
So what'll happen if they ask him to paint merely one picture?
Oh, he'll probably tell them he's already done his work and feels he can no longer add anything of importance to it. He'll no doubt end up giving lectures on himself. Don't worry. He'll make out. It's you I'm worried about. You're stuck here, aren't you? Are they likely to send a rescue party after you?
No. Every scholar who wins the award has to sign a waiver of responsibility in case he doesn't return. No, I'm stuck here. Tell me, is it very bad living in this period?
Well, not so bad. Of course, you'll need a Social Security card, and I don't know how you go about getting one at your age, and, well, the immigration authorities may want to question you since you're sort of an illegal alien.
Oh, dear, that's awful.
Wait a minute. It needn't be. I'll tell you what. Morniel has a Social Security card. He had a job a couple of years ago. He keeps his birth certificate in that drawer along with his other papers. Now, why don't you just assume his identity? He'll never show you up as an imposter.
But do you think I could? Won't I be... won't his friends, his relatives...
No, he hasn't got any family, and I'm about the only friend he's got. You could get away with it. Maybe grow a beard and dye it blonde. Naturally, the big problem would be earning a living. Being a specialist on Mathaway and the art movements derived from him wouldn't get you set an awful lot right now.
But I could paint. I've always dreamed of being an artist. I don't have much talent, but there are all kinds of artistic novelties I know about, all kinds of graphic innovations that don't exist in your time. Surely that would be enough, even without talent, to make a living for me on some third or fourth-rate level.
No, it certainly was. But not on a third or fourth-rate level. Mr. Glasgow, that is Morniel Mathaway, is the finest painter alive today and the unhappiest. After his last wildly successful exhibition, I remember he said to me,
"What's the matter with all these people praising me like that? I don't have an ounce of real talent in me. All my work is completely derivative. I've tried to do something, anything that was completely my own, but I'm so steeped in Mathaway that I can't seem to make my own personality come through. And those idiotic critics go on raving about me, and the work isn't even my own."
Well, then whose is it?
Mathaway's, of course. We thought there couldn't be a time paradox. I wish you could read all the scientific papers on the subject. They fill whole libraries because it isn't possible, the time specialists argue, for a painting to be copied from a future reproduction and so have no original artist. But that's what I'm doing. I'm copying from that book by memory.
Look, Glasgow, that is Mathaway. Don't knock yourself out.
But it's dishonest.
No, it isn't. You're deliberately trying not to copy those paintings. You're working so hard at it that you refuse to think about that book or even discuss it. As a matter of fact, when I tried to get you to talk about it a little while ago, you couldn't actually remember it.
That's true. It's true.
You're the real Morniel Mathaway, and there's no paradox. You're actually painting those pictures. You're not copying them from memory.
I know in my heart that they're not mine.
All right, I'll forget it. Anyway, you're a much nicer guy than Mathaway ever was. And besides, a buck is a buck.
You have just heard X-1, presented by the National Broadcasting Company in cooperation with Galaxy Science Fiction Magazine, which this month features Lulu by Clifford D. Simak. A story which demonstrates that a spaceship should be a darb, a smasher, a pip, a beaut. But man all battle stations if it ever becomes a sweetheart of a ship. Galaxy Magazine, on your newsstand today. Tonight, X-1 has brought you The Discovery of Morniel Mathaway, a story from the pages of Galaxy written by William Tenn and adapted for radio by Ernest Kenoy. Featured in our cast were Leon Janney as Mathaway, Guy Rep as the critic, Wendell Holmes as Glescu, and Les Damon as Dave. Your announcer, Fred Collins. X-1 was directed by Daniel Sutter and is an NBC Radio Network production.
This is Walter O'Keefe, inviting you to listen in on the Nightline. Tonight, live the incredible life of ages yet to come, in a time that might be 1,000,000 years from now, on X-1.
Countdown for blastoff. X-5, 4, 3, 2, X-1, fire. From the far horizons of the unknown come tales of new dimensions in time and space. These are stories of the future, adventures in which you'll live in 1,000,000, could be years, on 1,000 maybe worlds. The National Broadcasting Company, in cooperation with Galaxy Science Fiction Magazine, presents
X-1.
Tonight, Point of Departure by Vaughn Shelton. But first, hear this. A garden party for a queen, and you're invited. A trip to Tokyo, and you'll go along. The Army football game at West Point, and you have a seat on the 50-yard line. These are just a few highlights of the weekend Monitor has planned for you. Tomorrow night, Jinx Falkenberg is your personal guide at the party being given for England's Queen Elizabeth in the garden of the British Embassy in Washington, D.C. Saturday, you'll be off to historic West Point for the great Army-Pittsburgh football game. And that excursion will be followed later in the Monitor Day by a trip to Tokyo, where you'll visit the famed Japanese Kabuki Theater and the exotic Ginza nightclub district. Eleanor Roosevelt, Helen Hayes, Pat Boone, and Tony Perkins will be among the celebrities visiting Monitor this weekend. There'll be music, comedy by Fibber McGee and Molly, Bob and Ray, features, news, and sports. So start your weekend right with Monitor on Friday night and stay with Monitor all weekend long over most of these same NBC radio stations. Now, X-1 and Point of Departure by Vaughn Shelton.
Before I make this statement, I am well aware that you, gentlemen, are the board of directors and not likely to believe me. The overwhelming concrete fact that we face is that the Utah Flats atomic plant is short $300,000. You've asked for an explanation before the district attorney's office is called. I shall explain, but I know I will not be believed. It started with a letter I received from Dr. Winston Reed, the archaeologist. He is the top man in his field. You may have heard of the Yucatan discoveries and, of course, the Poseidon tablets found in the vault under the Sphinx. His letter introduced me to a Simon Kane, who flew in from Salt Lake City and made an appointment for the following afternoon.
Mr. Donner, I'm sorry that Dr. Reed has left again for the field. I should like to have him with me at this meeting.
Well, Mr. Kane, I don't quite understand why you've come to me. I'm merely a plant manager for Allied Electronics, and I have no interest in archaeology, nor have I access to any funds.
I'm not here on a begging expedition, Mr. Donner. I'll come right to the point. Do you know anything of the Poseidon tablets?
Well, I've read newspaper accounts.
The preliminary translations of the protolithic seals that surrounded the tablets indicate a civilization that flourished on the equatorial continent until it was destroyed by a natural catastrophe, identified as the biblical flood at about 10,000 B.C.
Oh, really? I'm afraid I had it confused with the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Oh, well, the lay public has not been informed that the tablets have been opened.
Opened?
Why, yes. The original inscriptions surrounded them. They were in wedge-shaped characters on baked clay. They have been removed from the tablets.
Well, it's all very interesting, but really I think...
Mr. Donner, 14 tablets were never registered with the Egyptian Museum. They remain at large. 6 of them have been translated so far. They indicate a scientifically advanced culture, and particularly they concern themselves with a solar energy converter.
You mean that literally? A power source from the sun?
Yes, according to the preliminary translations, this solar converter delivers such fantastic power that it makes our nuclear source look as primitive as a windmill.
And I suppose that's why you've come to me.
Yes, we wanted to check the inscriptions against actual tests in the laboratory in a field.
Well, I'm quite willing to have my engineering staff look over the plans and give you an opinion if it will help you in your research.
Well, that seems quite fair. I'll bring them to your office in the morning.
I suppose I half believed him at the time. I had heard of the Poseidon tablets, and I knew that the frontier of archaeology had been pushed back far beyond current thought by them. You gentlemen of the board of directors will have to believe me that I suspected no fraud. I had no reason to doubt Kane. I called in Rowell and Henniger, 2 of our engineers, and left them alone with Kane. About 5 o'clock, I got Rowell back in my office.
Mr. Donner, it's remarkable. Quite remarkable. Of course, I don't quite understand the field mathematics involved.
Rowell, I want a simple answer from you because I'm a simple executive type. Will that thing work or not?
Well, of course, it'll need a field test, but theoretically, I see no reason why it shouldn't.
Should we build it?
Well, there isn't any question, is there? It's revolutionary. Quite revolutionary.
All right. You and Henniger are assigned to it. I'll give it a project name in the morning and allocate a research budget. You'll be working with Mr. Kane. I took great care to protect the corporation's interests. I shall submit in evidence the contracts I drew up with Mr. Kane. I set Rowell and Henniger up in an isolated shop in the west corner of the plant area, and they had a device functioning within 3 weeks. A week later, I checked in at the shop again and found Rowell still working with the power unit. Naturally, I asked what he was doing.
You see, I'm getting ready to mount the solar energy converter on the projectile now, Mr. Donner.
What projectile?
Mr. Kane leased a surplus one-man rocket from the White Sands project. We're going to rig the solar unit in it.
You mean power a rocket with the solar unit?
You see, it's a question of field mathematics and the quantum...
Rowell, I'm an administrator, not a scientist. I ask you your engineering opinion. Is this a feasible research project?
Yes. Yes, it most certainly is. Using the solar converter, you could develop thrust up to escape velocity at only 10% of potential. This solar converter is creating more power than any atomic pile we have. Mr. Donner, this is it. Spaceflight.
You are listening to Point of Departure, tonight's attraction on X-1. This is... Now back to X-1
and point of departure.
Of course, whereas the purchase of the projectile was not authorized, I should like to point out to the board that I acted most conservatively. I checked the cost sheets and discovered that the rocket purchase was actually within the allowable debt limitations for my department, and so I okayed the project. However, I was concerned with the irregularity of an expenditure before authorization, so I drove out to Simon Kane's place to speak to him about it.
Oh, Mr. Dunner, I'd like you to meet Porter Hayes.
Hi. How do you do? No, look here,
Mr. Hayes has agreed to fly the ship.
Look, that's what I want to talk to you about.
He's with the Pan-Columbian Project, and he's flown all the other types that have been flown so far.
This is the one that'll make history, Mr. Donner. This ship will fly anywhere in the solar system. Probably clear out to most other planets without even carrying a fuel supply. Best thing about it is the actual guarantee of a return trip. You know, those geniuses down at Pan-Columbia have plenty of ideas for getting you out there, but very few for getting you back.
I've been showing Mr. Hayes the photographs of the original tablets and translations. You see, Mr. Donner, aren't they beautiful work?
Kane, I want to talk to you in private. The cost sheets.
Hey, Kane, where's the last tablet? There are only pictures of 13 here.
That's right. The first 13 tablets take us through the construction of the unit and the ship and the inventor's 6 successful trial flights. The 14th hasn't been translated yet. It takes about a month to decipher each tablet.
You do it yourself?
Oh, no. That's a special study. My wife does it. She's an Egyptian scholar in her own right. Her father was Egypt's foremost antiquarian. I believe she's about to honor us with her... Nalja. I should like you to meet Mr. Hayes and Mr. Donner.
How do you do, gentlemen?
How do you do?
How do you do?
My dear, we thought you could give us a hint about the text of the 14th tablet. Are you far enough along?
No, I am sorry. I have only just started. The language symbols are a little different from the others, and it is a bit difficult to read.
Well, all I want to know is, when's the ship going to be ready?
In good time. It's waited 12,000 years. A week or 2 more won't matter.
During the next 2 weeks, I was too busy with other things to worry much about the project, but I would like to call the board's attention to the fact that I submitted multiple progress reports at 5-day intervals as required by plant operating procedure. I am at a loss to understand why those reports are now missing from the files. One evening, on a visit to Salt Lake, I was dining at the Pioneer Arms when I spotted Porter Hayes at the table across the room. He was with a young lady who looked familiar to me, even from the back, and, of course, I realized it was Nalja Kane. I felt it was discretionary on my part not to inform Mr. Kane of his wife's continuing acquaintance with Porter Hayes. On July 19th, Kane telephoned and said the airship was rigged and ready to go. I had assigned him an area in our desert test space, and we scheduled the test for the next morning. I got to the test site a little late. Everything was ready, and they were waiting for me. The gantry train moved back, and without the usual roar of chemical rockets or the scream of jets, the ship rose gradually to about 10 feet, and then shot up to a couple of hundred, and then stopped again. Kane was on the intercom.
Hayes! Hayes! Is it powering right?
What does he say?
He's satisfied the craft works perfectly. He's going to take it straight out for 4 or 5 hours and then come back.
Well, he can't do that. There's too much he doesn't know about that ship. Tell him to come back.
Oh, let him alone. He's making history.
But the first time...
There he goes. Well, I think I'll go down the road a few miles to get some breakfast. I'll be back shortly.
That was 4 days ago. I want it clear to the members of the board that I have not notified the authorities. The ship carried the standard survival kit with 7 days' ration and water, and if he had no operational trouble, Hayes could stay out at least a week. Other than filing the original flight plan with the Joint Astronautics Board, I had no other official obligation. When Kane did not return to the test site by noon, I went to look for him. Meeting with no success, I attempted to question Mrs. Kane at her hotel room.
I cannot tell you. I cannot tell you anything.
Mrs. Kane, this is a matter of vital necessity to our corporation. I have exceeded my research budget on my own responsibility. I must find your husband. If something happens to the rocket, there'll be an investigation. An official investigation.
It will all come out then, won't it?
What?
About my father.
Mrs. Kane, I don't understand. What has your father to do with this?
He stole the tablets. At least I thought he did.
You mean the tablets that you've been translating?
Yes, I thought he had stolen them. Simon Kane told me that. He brought me the cases soon after we were married. I helped him smuggle them out of Egypt to protect my father. He swore if I didn't help him to translate the inscriptions, he'd expose my father and disgrace him. But now it's too late. He's dead.
You mean your father?
Yes, he is. Porter Hayes told me. He called me this morning.
Well, that must have been before the test.
My father's been dead for 6 months. Murdered. Simon Kane murdered my father. He killed him and stole the tablets from him. Porter Hayes told me he has the proof.
Well, that's... I'm really sorry, but if Mr. Kane did come into possession of those tablets illegally, there will be a great deal of litigation. Patent rights, you know. That's our primary concern. Now, of course, we'll have to have whatever proof we can. The original tablets, any photostats, notes...
They are all gone.
You mean Kane took them?
He destroyed them. He burned them. He laughed at me this morning. He told me I could never prove they'd ever existed.
However, we do have the corroborative evidence of the solar converter, its plans at the plant, the prototype model, and, of course, the rocket.
Porter Hayes flew it, didn't he? He flew away.
Oh, Hayes, yes, but he's on the test flight. Now, as soon as he comes back, we'll have to get his affidavit. I'll admit I am at a loss to understand the absence from the plant files of all plans and prototype models of the solar converter. However, I am awaiting a report momentarily from our proving ground near Salt Lake on the return of Porter Hayes and the rocket. In the meantime, I am in receipt of a communication from Mrs. Kane, who had discovered a sketch of the 14th tablet, which remained unburned. She includes a translation, and I open this now in the presence of you gentlemen, and I include it in my report. I am convinced that the translation, which I have never seen before, will prove to you gentlemen my probity and my good faith in the corporation's behalf. Now I open the envelope. The translation, 14th tablet, and I quote, "The foregoing record is accurate, and we acknowledge a superlative contribution to science of the inventor." And there is a name here I cannot pronounce. I continue. "But we must admit his greatest contribution is in the proving of an axiom where ultimate force is involved. It is better to know none of the laws than to know most of them. On the 4th day, the aircraft returned from far space to the point of its departure. The aircraft was in excellent condition, but the solar converter was completely fused into a shapeless mass of metal. Of the inventor, the pilot of the craft, nothing remained but his clothing and a handful of white dust. I must conclude my report by proffering my resignation. I will be at the district attorney's disposal when you gentlemen of the board choose to call me in.
You have just heard X-1, presented by the National Broadcasting Company in cooperation with Galaxy Science Fiction Magazine. which this month features Willie Lay's factual account of the fascinating disappearance of the dodo. On with the dodo hunt. Galaxy Magazine, on your newsstand today. X-1 has brought you Point of Departure, a story from the pages of Galaxy written by Vaughn Shelton and adapted for radio by Ernest Kenoy. Featured in our cast were Dean Lyman Almquist as Mr. Donner and Ilya Braca as Mrs. Kane. This is Fred Collins. X-1 was directed by George Voutsas and is an NBC Radio Network production.
There's excitement in the air at night, and Nightline brings it to you. Hear Nightline with Walter O'Keefe, next on most of these NBC stations.